Okay, so here's the thing. When we are in a corporate workplace environment, there can be the idea that showing that we are human or showing that we have human stresses makes us less than and makes us look weak. In the corporate training that I carry out, we go through things around communication and emotional intelligence and languaging, and this is all internally, really getting to the core of what's going on rather than worrying about externally initially, to work out better ways for workplaces to thrive and to function and to work together rather than working in opposition with each other with our own agendas and our separate agendas and our different ideas of what's important and what's the end goal and what's the doing goal and how do we get there. So in my emotionally intelligent public relations training, it's internal public relations, which is all around the communication and improving the culture. We cover 4 different aspects. It is self-awareness, so really pausing and giving permission to check in on what's going on for the individual. So in the group sense, in the group workshop and sessions, we allow time for each person to figure out what their stress triggers are. So the more understanding they have around that, the better off they are in the sense of how they then communicate that. But it starts with self-awareness. So what are the stress triggers? How does it impact you or that person? And what do they then do about it? The second aspect we cover is self-management, which becomes more of the what do they then do about it and how do they do about it. So looking at the actions that they take out of habit or out of reflex or reaction and starting to shift that so that we're managing ourselves and our reactions so that they can become more responsive and more useful in general. And the third aspect that we cover, and we really dive into this, is social skills for adults, really. We teach dogs how to behave as well as they can. We teach children social skills. So why do we necessarily stop when we become adults? It goes beyond networking. It goes beyond being able to deliver a sales pitch, and it actually comes into empathy and perception and practicing those things and practicing conscious listening and conscious communication. So how do you communicate with people? What kind of eye contact do you make with them? And how comfortable do you feel in that? Which then translates to how comfortable does the other person feel that, or how much do you make the other person feel comfortable as well. So social skills are really, really important, and they, in this case, aren't with the goal of selling, which is really key as well, especially within a workplace. We're not selling to each other, and to create healthier cultures, we need to remove the idea of pitching our agenda over someone else and instead communicate that a bit better. And with that understanding, it creates a whole improved way of how a workplace does business. And the last aspect that we cover kind of ties it all together, and it becomes relationship management. So there's the social skills that work on the individual skills, and then the relationship management then becomes about what do we do with this in the workplace, and how do we encourage more of this and cultivate more of this and give permission to each other to do the same. So where do we remove criticism that isn't useful, and how do we bring it in with constructive criticism and constructive communication in a way that takes into account the emotional intelligence and empathetic layer of things. So the corporate training doesn't include yoga necessarily at all. That is an add-on, and that is a question that I get a lot, so I like to highlight that. Yoga is useful and it is really handy in that sense, but this particular program really dives deep into the communication aspects. And a lot of this is from my experience in working in corporate public relations, communications, and marketing, and also my experience in diving into more of that human behavior studies and really looking into how that impacts how people feel at work, with the whole idea and the whole goal is to create healthier workplaces, not just on a physical health level in the sense of exercising, but on a mental and emotional health level, and create workplaces that are supported, and it's encouraged that it's supported. So I encourage in these sessions that the hierarchy is removed and that everyone in the session, while they're in the session, is on the same level. And I know that that is a challenging thing to wrap your head around when you get to it. But at the same time, it's important to bring everyone in on the same level and say this training is important for everyone. It's not something that management tells staff to do. It's not something that only gets is accessible to management. It is accessible to all because everyone plays a role in what the culture in a workplace is like and how the company or organization is perceived externally as well. So everyone has their own personal brand in this sense, but they're empowered to find their own way in how they feel about it. And when you think about a world that everyone does have a personal brand, whether it's on LinkedIn or social media or in networking scenarios, they are talking about their experience, their workplace experience, their employee or management experience. So why not give everyone the best chance possible to speak favorably, and then we can use that to change the way that we currently do business or run business, or change the outdated ways of communicating within a workplace. So if you are interested in the corporate workplace training that I do run, please feel free to reach out via email at jess@jlyoga.com.au, and we can schedule a time just to have a chat either on the phone or in person about what's going on for your workplace and what you feel like you need, and we can go from there.